iGo Ladies Lounge Health and Wellness Show.
Hello ladies, welcome back to the Ladies Lounge podcast. Today we're diving into a topic that impacts every aspect of our lives, which is nutrition. We're going to specifically be focusing on women's unique nutritional needs, because what works for one person doesn't always work for another, especially when we consider the incredible journey of the woman's life, from puberty to pregnancy to beyond that. So as you know, my co-host Praise is a dietitian, and she's going to be taking us through, helping us to understand and embrace our nutritional needs. We'll discuss everything from your diet when you're pregnant, when you're not, when you're menopausing, how it affects your mental health, how it affects your energy levels, sometimes even your hormones. We'll also talk about some of the biggest myths or misconceptions surrounding women's health, surrounding this dieting thing and our nutrition, and she'll also give us practical tips we can start using today. Hi Praise.
Hi Chido. Hi ladies, how are you doing?
We have heard that you are the experts.
Oh my god, I can never be an expert of food, like food.
But you went to school for it, so we trust you. We're trusting you right now to tell us what to do. Hey? So, I think the first question I would like to ask and know is, do our nutritional needs differ from the other genders at different stages of life?
Definitely. That's very definite, because with women, our body compositions and functions are different from the other gender, which is the male gender. We have got more fat component as compared to men in our bodies. And we have got the menstruation in the cycle. We have got the puberty changes. We also have got the childbearing phase. From there, we have got menopause.
We have a lot going on, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Okay, so we want to break it down and talk about when it comes to women and nutrition. We know, I think my basic knowledge of nutrition started from grades, I don't know which grade, where we did our macronutrients, right? Which is like your carbohydrates, vitamins, protein, what if I left fats, all of those things.
Yeah.
Can you break down the importance of these nutrients for women and how these may vary our needs, or for probably my need for carbohydrates is different from yours?
Obviously.
Yes. So please just explain that in a little
package.
Yes.
All right. So we have two main categories. I do know there then goes like branching, but the main categories we have are the macronutrients and the micronutrients. So on the micro, it's what we can touch. What you can put in your hand, it's part of the micro. That's your starch, and then that's your protein, and then that's your fat.
Okay.
You can literally hold the lard in your hands, you can hold the meat, you can hold the salsa. And then the micronutrients is the things that you don't see, but they contribute to your wellness and health. These are your vitamins, your minerals, and then remember I said they can branch a little bit further where we have got those funny things called the phytochemicals, those things in our plants. Some of them we don't even understand them even now. So yes, the ones we cannot touch, but they're inside the food. Those are the micronutrients. So what then differs mostly or distinguishes women from men are the micronutrients, the smaller detail. The macro, yes, don't eat this amount of sadza A, this person A don't eat amount. We're all eating sadza, but each one has got their own quantity. But with the micronutrients, they become a little bit more specific to say they are those that can get to be deficient, or that can become the English phrase is failing to come out, but we're talking of shortage. Where the body is having a shortage of those.
Something.
Yes. So that's different from men. For men, they do experience shortages of their own, but not as significant as women do. The ones that then become those shortages ones are the iron, the folate.
So those are the micronutrients, the iron and stuff.
The iron, the folate, and the calcium. Those are the three main nutrients, micronutrients that usually become deficient in women. Basically or mainly because during menstruation we lose a lot of blood, and that's where we lose the iron.
Okay.
And if it's not replenished properly, yes, the person becomes anemic, where we're saying there's little iron in the body. And then folate, that one is a vitamin that's crucial, especially during pregnancy, where we are now saying we are building up this baby.
Okay.
We need to build the baby so that they don't get to have complications of open gaps on their bodies, like the lip cleft, the spinal bifida, and body parts that are missing. It's possible due to other causes, the body part missing, but it's also a risk not to have adequate folic acid in the system. And then we've got calcium. Calcium comes in handy because remember, we are building this new human being which requires its own bone system.
Yeah.
And if we don't supply, what is going to happen? Our bones are going to be the ones producing this. We dissolve. It's called bone resorption, where we are dissolving our own bones to supply
give the
baby. Yes.
Wow.
And what remains are holes in our bones. Now we are having a risk of osteoporosis, where we've got bones, but they've got a lot of holes in them. The moment you fall, especially on the hip, the moment you fall, it breaks. So that's why we've got a high hip fracture in elderly women. So it's important for us to note with our iron, folic acid or folate, and calcium, they come in handy throughout the different life phases of a woman, but they get to be very special at different phases as well.
Okay.
With iron, we talked of menstruation. Yes, during pregnancy you also need the iron.
Yeah.
But the moment it's more significantly observed is during menstruation.
Okay.
Yes. But during pregnancy, iron is important because you need blood to supply to this young coming one. And folate, yes, you are no longer developing, so you notice the significance during pregnancy, where you are now developing this human being.
Something. Okay.
And then calcium, yes, you don't see the effect immediately. You usually see it during menopause, where now the bones are all having holes, but we use the calcium during pregnancy.
Okay.
So it's important to note that we need to have, before pregnancy, we need to actually build up, bank our nutrient supply.
Okay.
During pregnancy, we sustain the available, and if it's already deficient, we replenish. That's why we take those micronutrient vitamins, and we take the mineral and vitamin complex, the B complex
and
pills.
the probiotics, what
The probiotics now, they are coming on the macro category.
Okay.
Where we are saying it just takes care of the gut health, your insides.
Okay.
They need to be well nourished, and for that to happen, we need the probiotics. So those ones, we have got the pro and the prebiotics, where we are saying we need components of our food that provide us with bacteria, good bacteria, and then we need the feed for that bacteria.
Okay.
So we're going to have the bacteria and something for it to eat so that it sustains our health.
It's getting complicated. I hope we're all catching this, but I think I got a few things. We're gonna take a break whilst we're digesting. Okay, on a very, yes, we are taking in the information, and then we'll come right back and talk about what are some of the misconceptions when it comes to dieting, when it comes to nutrition for women. Right, we're back and we're talking about our nutrition and diet as women. Probably we're going to get into women on the go, how can we also eat healthy so that we stay fit, so that we are the best versions of ourselves when it comes to our physical health? So, what are some misconceptions? I know there are a lot about dieting and nutrition for women that you often encounter, Praise. I know you talk to a lot of people and they have all these tips and tricks and diets and etc.
Wow, there are several, like many. And funny thing, Google has got all the answers.
Of course, we Google everything.
And the unfortunate part is, I'll give an example. A target for weight loss. I want to lose 15 kgs in 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the funny thing, the first question I would ask, or I would like us ladies to ask ourselves, how many years did it take for me to get the 15 kgs before I want to crush them in 2 weeks?
True.
So that means it has been a gradual gaining process.
Yeah.
And now I want to do a crash diet to just let go of the 15.
Yeah.
Have I thought about the consequences of that?
I mean, I'll look slimmer.
Yes, you will. But you also have accompanying friends, like the love handles that will be dangling all over, the loose skin under the arms. So at the end of the day, yeah, you look slimmer, but after you take off the clothes, it becomes something else. You see someone else.
That's a good point. That's deep. I've never thought of that. I've never, not to say that I want to lose a bunch of weight, but if I were to, that's not the first thing I think about. What will my skin look like after? Because we think if you don't eat or if you do this crash diet, you just literally come back, and you're firm in all the areas that need to be firm. We don't think about this extra skin that came with the weight and what will happen to that. That's something to think
different
about.
Areas, the arms, the abdominal area, and the bum. Yeah, the sagging part of it won't look nice.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about one that I've had. Keto diet, where I scratch out my starch and I'm just eating meat, and it's a specific meat and specific vegetables and at specific times of the day. Let's talk about that. I feel like we said earlier, definitely it's not a one size fits all, right? But is keto healthy? Is it recommended?
So that will come in as one of the main misconceptions on dieting means starving.
Yeah.
So I'll just give a very short, keep me on time.
Okay.
So starvation, it's not literally meaning that you're not having anything in your stomach at all.
Okay.
It means that your body is lacking something. So if we're talking of starvation in diet, regards to diet, we can starve of a certain nutrient. Remember, we talked of the macro and micro. So if we're going to be having, say for example, the keto diet, we are eliminating starch, our carbohydrate source.
Yeah.
Of which carbohydrate is our primary source of energy. You digest it, you get the sugar gets you energy.
Speak it louder, because I don't think we realize this.
So when we then don't eat starch, we do realize, we're losing weight. And the funny thing is, usually the first thing that we're going to lose in 2 weeks is water from our bodies. Dehydration. So most of that weight is just the water, because we are 75% water.
Oof.
And then we say it's working, right?
Yes,
and
it
then
was working because the scale is saying something.
And then we are not having 2 weeks. We have gone without any carbohydrate source. We're having a little fat. We're having a little the greens, right? Now the body registers. We are in starvation, and unfortunately, we are not having any starch, but we are going to have some beverage of sort. Whatever beverage, be it fizzy or be it the dilution or the fruit juice, that's going to be our sugar source, isn't it? The body recognizes, we are not getting any sufficient energy from our carbohydrate. So this, whatever carbohydrate that trickles in, we store it. Let's store this so that we have reserve energy for the starvation we're going
so like
through.
my body now starts thinking ahead, like
Yes.
we are going to die, so we must
Yes.
do something about it.
In Shona anzi kufa kwerume ubudaura. It's not easy for a man to die. They will fight, and the body fights for survival.
Okay.
So in its way of fighting for survival, it will start storing whatever carbohydrate in the form of fat as a source of energy. So you notice that after a while of going on with that diet, you see that you get to a point where nothing changes. We call that plateau phase. And then after the plateau phase, you just boom, balloon.
Yeah.
What's happening? One, it's not sustainable for you to go too long without having your carbohydrate, your starches. Two, it's expensive as hell.
Of course.
So at the end of the day, yes, for a few weeks you'll be like, yeah. And then you'll be like, you know what? Nah, I'm having cravings. I'm having headaches. I'm having, and you know, our diet contributes to hormonal balances.
Yeah.
So if you don't have adequate sugar, you go cray.
Oh, of course.
You go bananas.
I can testify to that.
So you just have these uncontrolled emotions. Everything is going haywire. Your sugar levels are low.
Oh.
And your brain is starving because your brain uses sugar as its source of energy.
Wow.
So at the end of the day, unsustainable, these hormonal imbalances, you just having these cravings. So what you do, and you actually go to the scale and you see, after 2 weeks, I have lost the 15 kgs.
Yes.
So what are you going to do next? You're going to go back to your normal.
Because I've reached my target.
Exactly. And you bombard yourself with that carbohydrate that you were starving. And the body is still in starvation mode. So it will say, thank you for whatever you've given. I'm going to
storing
store
again.
So it will store again. So you lose and you gain double.
I hope we're hearing it, ladies. I've learned so much here. You know, there are things that you think you're doing for your good, but actually you're hurting yourself. So I think that's the biggest misconception that we can talk about today. We can pick up some others another time. But now I want to know, how then do we what is it that I must do? Praise, okay, keto probably is a bad idea, or maybe I should do it in moderation. But generally, we've talked about it's not one size fits all, but what's the general advice that you can give to someone who is probably trying to lose some?
All right. The first thing to think about is sustainability. The weight loss, I do appreciate we applaud ourselves for the 2-week weight loss of whatever kgs. After that, what then comes? You gain back the weight.
Yeah.
So if we talk about sustainability, we are talking of a lifestyle, lifetime. So for me to achieve that, it took me 15 years to gain this weight. Let me take some time to let go of it.
True.
And while I'm on it, I am modifying my dietary habits into a healthy perspective.
Yeah.
From there, I can sustain the healthy perspectives. That means that I don't have to always starve myself, lose, and then gain again, become a yo-yo effect. So I can actually start thinking about sustainability, affordability, enjoyment of meals. If you're not enjoying it, why eat it? So those are key. And for us to put them into a plate, we just encourage the simplest one. I do know and understand that with individuals, we narrow it down. But generically speaking, we just say whenever you're having a starchy meal, have double or triple portion of your vegetables.
Okay.
Yes.
So if I'm having I know you guys what you recommend. You say a fist size of starch. I'm gonna have twice, probably, or thrice of my vegetables in the same plate.
Yes.
What about the meat?
The meat, you can just have something like the inner portion of your palm.
Okay.
Without the fingers.
So if my pork, because my pork doesn't come in palm size, praise.
But the good thing about the pork is that it has got that tender bone and it has got that fatty part. So remove the bone, remove the fat, you will be left with a good portion of your protein.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, what do we say about dessert? I want to know about my ice cream, my custard,
We talked about the
cheesecake.
portion, right?
Uh-huh.
We talked about the portion.
Yes.
But the funny thing about the portion, if you skip a meal, you're going to eat the double portion. So we don't want double portion because you're not going to use all that influx of energy at one go. So space your meals.
All right.
3-hour intervals. That's how your stomach empties.
Okay.
That's why we need a little fiber so that we get full and then we are full for a long time, 3 hours.
Okay.
So now when you're doing refill, it's a 3-hour interval. You had your morning snack, your cereal, you had your breakfast at 10, you have your lunch at 1. 1 to 7 p.m. where we are going to have supper is a long time. That's 7 hours.
Definitely.
So that's where we then play around. After lunch, you don't take your dessert there and then.
Okay.
Give you time, 3 hours. That's around 3, 4, 5 when you're about to knock off.
Can have a little
Have your nice little piece.
Okay.
And then that energy, you're going to use it because you're going to go home, you're going to do activities, prepare the supper, and then when you have the supper, you've used the energy.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of timing. And after eating your supper, remember our starch portion is a little bit smaller now. We have got a lot of activities that come in the evening. It's okay for you to have a night snack. Around 10-ish, you can have your night snack. Intimacy is important, so we need energy for that. So yes, we encourage that. Let's have our night snacks. And if there are conditions like diabetes, hypertension, yes, it becomes a little bit more tightened up. But on a generic platform, timing, 3-hour intervals. Whenever you're having a starchy meal, double or triple your fist-sized portion of vegetables. Your meat, remove the extra fat, the visible fat, and you're good to go.
Okay. We're going to self-introspect a little bit, see how I'm doing, and then we'll come right back. And in our last segment, we're going to talk about are there specific foods or nutrients that can support fertility? We know this is a hot topic these days, our reproductive health. And then Praise can also give us advice on, okay, I need to snack on the go. Sometimes I'm a busy woman. I've got meetings. I've got things to do. I need to be able to snack on the go. What can I take for that? We'll be right back. We're back and we're talking about diet and nutrition, specifically for women. We've talked a lot about all these other things, but I think we're going to close it off with our reproductive health, our fertility. What can we do to improve that food-wise, nutrition-wise? And then Praise is going to give us a few tips or a few things that we can eat on the go. What can we snack on that's healthy, that will not affect at the end of the day our physical health. We're gonna have a few more episodes that will then talk about how diet and nutrition goes with you taking up physical activity, you being fit, and you must have fitness goals. But for today, we're specifically targeting our nutrition. So Praise, this fertility thing is now, it's getting out of hand, especially in Africa now. We didn't quite have all these problems with fertility, but there's a lot now of women in our generation, specifically the younger ones that are coming up, our 30s to 40s, who are really struggling with fertility, who are struggling with reproductive health. Does it have anything to do with our diet? What can we change?
Wow, that's a very huge one, but let's try and package it into a small dynamite. So with reproductive health, there's been a lot of changes in terms of our diet. Back then, most of the things we ate were organic.
Very organic.
We get them from the farm and everything is okay. But now, there's a lot of influx on hormonal changes due to our diet. Everyone wants a fast-paced reproduction in terms of farming. So they inject animals, they feed with this fast-growing, funny stuff. And at the end of the day, when we then consume, say for example, our meats, some of them still have residual hormones within.
Okay.
Our eggs, some of them are, fast make.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the regulation, especially in our systems, are not yet there. Nutrition is still something that's not regarded as important.
Yeah.
So the regulatory statutes are a little bit lax.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we are having funny food products, and due to that, we are having some hormonal imbalances in our systems. And it will be important for us to note that if we then try and be healthy as much as we can within this chaos, it will be best. So our micronutrients, especially the iron, folate, and the calcium, are crucial, but that doesn't narrow it to only those.
Okay.
Let's just take our supplements when we are of age. In our prenatal phase, let's take our nutrients, our micronutrients supplements. Let's also make sure that our diets, our macronutrients, our salads, our vegetables, our meats are also aligned.
Okay.
So that way we try and limit. We cannot totally eliminate. It's a risk that's coming from what we are actually eating. So we try and say, let me provide the body with what's required and
try to be as organic as possible.
Yes.
So, okay, let's give a hypothetical situation. I'm Chido here, and I want to prepare my body for a baby. I want to, have a child. Must I... okay, what can I do? I know you've given us like generic advice on what we can do. Eat organic, take your micro and whatever. Okay, maybe specify where do I get my micronutrients from? Is it a special milk? What am I supposed to do?
So if you check on food products, you have to read the ingredient lists. Or you can go on the nutritional information side, but it's a lot of numbers. But go on the ingredient side, where we are saying that the first 5 key ingredients are the majority in that.
Oh, okay.
In that
first 5
yes.
ingredients. Okay.
So that's where you are checking to say what's the composition of the food.
Okay.
That also helps categorize to say, is it more organic or it's more refined and processed?
Okay.
Right? 1. 2, you can also just try and get the less processed products. Lesser processed means there's a lesser chemical components that have been put as preservatives. And also check on the stickers. For these days, they are now producing products where they put some fortification into the food.
Okay.
For example, with our vitamin A, we have got the vitamin A in our oils. And also they put this heart, they put the heart, they put a family set around, is it a globe?
Yeah, something like that.
And then the family is, and then there's the sun. So you just check to see if there is any sticker that signifies fortification. And they do mention that fortified with. So we've got the iron fortifications, we've got the calcium fortification, the vitamin A fortification. They come in handy, and we can also get some of the supplements, especially for women in their childbearing phase, or pregnancy. They can get from legit pharmacies.
Legit pharmacies.
Please.
I repeat. Okay.
Because these days,
everybody's a pharmacist.
Exactly.
Everybody has a pharmacy.
So the supplements, we get them from our legit pharmacies, and we try and be consistent on the intake. If I take once, that doesn't mean that the 9 months I'm covered. Yeah.
All right. The last thing. What are some healthy snack ideas that a woman on the go can take?
Definitely not from those papers.
But what do you mean?
There are those plastics that make the funny, nice sound, and when you are eating them, they
But
go
that's
like all the
eliminating,
crunchy.
Most of the snacks.
When we are talking of snacks, when we are talking of snacks in the healthy aspect, we mean something that's nutrient dense that can actually be beneficial. Most of the kochos, they literally are just empty calories.
Empty calories.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you can have your nuts and seeds, Those
nuts
are good.
and seeds.
They are very good. They supply the good oils. They provide also the very nice micronutrients that we are looking for, and the protein as well. And they're filling. We have got the fruits. We have got vegetable sticks. We have got whole grain crackers. If you like the crunch part, we have got the whole grain
What
crackers.
about sweets? I know that's the salty side. Sweets. For some of us who have a problem, my bag always has some type of sweet snack. So what do?
We can try and wean off the sweets by introducing the nuts, the seeds,
That doesn't sound very interesting. What about like your dried fruit and all of those things? They are pretty sweet, right?
They are pretty sweet. So with the sugar from fruits, it's a different kind. It's not as refined as our sweets.
Okay.
Yes, but the only challenge is that when they're dried, they are very sweet.
Not too much, I guess. Okay. Well, we have had quite a lovely time here talking about diet and nutrition for women, and I hope you've learned something. Please note that you can call iGo, book a session with a dietitian. Make sure that you guys go through the necessary assessments and things so that you can live healthy, eat healthy. They'll help you with how to make a meal plan and all of those things. Please make sure that you email igo@simas.co.zw if you need any nutritional help or advice. Thank you so much for coming through. We'll see you next episode. I hope this has been helpful. Please like and share. Comment in the comment section. Shoot us an email on what else you'd like us to talk about. This is us signing out. Bye.
Yes.
iGo Ladies Lounge Health and Wellness Show.